Welcome to the Bike Talk with Dave podcast. I'm your host, Dave Mabel. Thanks tons for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Okay, it's finally time to meet Josh Sprague and find out just what goes into engineering his orange mud hydration packs that make them perfect for those long rides. Long rides like maybe the Okoboji 200 or BTC as we call it now that we heard about a few episodes ago. Or maybe a long gravel ride like the Rattlesnake Gravel Grind. Could be you're prepping for a multi-surface ride like the Core 4 or an all-day mountain bike race like Leadville. Or maybe you're doing a bike packing route that you found on bikepacking.com or Adventure Cycling. If you think about what you'd want in carrying water and other stuff on your back, the first thing you'd probably list is comfort. So Josh started Orange Mud because he's an athlete himself and he wanted the same things that you want. And so he's joining us here today to explain just what goes into the design and construction of the Orange Mud packs and how he engineers them to meet our needs. So let's not wait any longer and let's meet Josh Sprague. Josh, great to see you again. Welcome back to Bike Talk with Dave. Talking to Josh Sprague, founder of Orange Mud and Seven Clay. I'm sure people have heard of Orange Mud. They see you at all the events. Seven Clay might be new to them, to listeners, but I bet a lot of our listeners are wearing your work right now.
Yep, that's a fact.
So anyway, welcome back to Bike Talk with Dave. It's a treat to have you on, and we'll kind of get to what brings you back in a bit. But how are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's been a long time since we had our podcast at the coffee shop.
It has been a long time, and it was great. You know, honestly, I think about that every time we're down in Austin, and Dee and I, we bring our tandem down. We do some bike riding. We do... we were there in February. We rode 200 miles in a week. It was great.
Nice.
But we always go up to Briggs.
Yep.
We go up to Briggs, which is north, a little bit northwest, mostly north of Austin. Mm-hmm. My son works at a rocket factory there, which is pretty cool. We got to see a couple of engine test firings, and that was fun. That was a treat. I'd never seen or experienced a rocket engine like being fired live. So I was thrilled with that coming from the Apollo era. But anyway, aside from that, that was super fun. But there are freaking great, I call them macadam, chip seal roads out of Briggs. And we just ride forever, but it's all on chip seal. And I remember you saying when we met in that coffee shop that you can go up to your ranch north of town somewhere and you can ride gravel all the way to the freaking border?
For as far as you want to go.
I don't get it. I got to figure out where that is because we would love to hit gravel.
I know the roads you ride there at Briggs. So like I bought a TW200 adventure bike last year, motorcycle, and I figured out how to get to my ranch on it from my house, which I live about 20 minutes south of Briggs. And so I figured out how to cut over and ride them chip seal roads you talk about, where it's like a 40 mile an hour speed limit, low water bridges, and just great safe road for pavement, which I try to avoid pavement at all costs, but it's a great safe way to get to Lampasas. And so once you get to Lampasas, which is just north of Briggs, really you don't have to go too far north of Lampasas, and you hit amazing pavement roads for just great exploring, but there's an incredible amount of dirt. But it's all north of Lampasas. Everything between Lampasas and to the south side of Austin is paved. I mean, Texas, they'll see a dirt road. They're like, we got $500,000. We'll go pave that. I know no one drives down that, but we're going to go pave that anyway. I've been out riding on dirt roads in the middle of nowhere, and I'm talking truly middle of nowhere, long ways from here, and 100 miles away from here. You're riding along, and all of a sudden you're going down by a creek, and all of a sudden it's paved. I'm like, why is this paved? No one comes here except for deer hunters. So apparently there was money in the budget left over in the county. You're like, hey, Bill, I got that deer lease down there by the creek. Why don't you go down there and pave between that oak tree and that maple tree? It's really crazy. But you get north of Lampasas, that's where the dirt starts. And that's all you got to look up. Go to Gravel Route Map. I think it's gravelroutemap.com or something like that. That's where I started finding gravel routes, years ago. Now I use Gaia and OnX and Google Maps satellite and everything. But I still use Gravel Route Finder. But that's how I found my initial dirt roads, which is how I ended up buying my ranch. Is I was exploring up there, and it's God's country, man. It's awesome. You get up there, it's big mesas. I feel like Indians are going to be shooting me off a mesa at any point because it looks like the Wild West, and it's just dirt, clean, beautiful, pristine area with no one around. And I actually did a 100-mile route about a month ago. I went up to my ranch, and I just had one of them days. I told my wife, I'm like, I kind of got to go for a bike ride. And I was only going to go for a 30-mile ride, but it ended up turning into 100. And I was on maps. I had a good tailwind, and I was on dirt the whole way. And from my ranch, it's like 100 yards, and then dirt changes. And I was cruising along, and I was like, man, there's this little town of like Gunder or something like that. I'd never heard of it, and it was exactly 50 miles from my place. And I thought, I bet there's a gas station there. And I zoomed in on Google Maps. I saw there was a gas station. It showed open. I'm like, perfect, because I only had 3 hours of fuel of infinite nutrition, and so I thought, well, I'll get up there and I'll get some food. So 50 miles later, I got me jalapeno poppers, a payday, a Snickers, a Coke, and a Dr. Pepper, and then turned around and headed back. Then I had headwind the whole way back, which was terrible. But yeah, the dirt up north, it's gorgeous. It really is. It's calm. It's very low stress. People, if you see a car, they'll probably stop thinking you're lost. That's how unusual cyclists are up there.
For sure.
And offer to help. So yeah, it's nice.
We go further north to Sweetwater and do the Rattlesnake Gravel Grind. And actually this kind of leads me into one of the discussions I want to have. The gravel up there is beautiful. We go on a lot of ranch roads, but you could carve out a gorgeous gravel route up there. Like if you're not there for the event and just want to ride gravel, like it's just gorgeous up and down. And honestly, we talked a bit about Leadville before hitting record, and a lot of the roads up there remind me of riding at Leadville.
Yeah,
the Leadville 100, like the actual race course. Like it felt like some of the same type of roads. I know we're not at 12,000 feet, but just gorgeous and up and down and rocky and rooty and dirty and remote.
Sure.
Super fun. I love it.
Sweetwater's a great area. You get big bluffs, but you get big open too. I mean, Sweetwater is where the rolling hill country really stops. Is what the way I see it. It's where it starts to just change to a bunch of giant prairies. But right as you're coming in, like when you're heading from Austin, right as you're coming into Sweetwater, you come off like a little mini mountain. You know, and it's
for
just
sure.
gorgeous in that area. The views are stunning, and to somebody that's a mountain person, they may not like it. I know people make fun of me all the time, like your little hills, and I grew up in Kansas, so your little hills in Kansas suck. I'm like, I think you need to go check out Eastern Kansas, and if you don't like Western Kansas because it's too open, Eastern Kansas, we have trees and big hills. Western Kansas still has big hills too, but it's I think there's a beautiful aspect to, as long as there's hard pack. Sand sucks. But,
sand sucks.
A lot of the Sweetwater area is still pretty good hard pack, and man, it's still beautiful views to me.
Yeah, there's definitely some sand there too, for sure.
Yeah, there is.
Do a little fishtail in there. Fishtailing on the tandem is extra fun.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's desirable.
So I want to talk about your gear. I want to talk about Orange Mud a little bit because one of the things you mentioned was gear engineering for cyclists, especially for long distance events. And I just watched Iowa Gravel Gang, Aria Sabatini. He went down to Rattlesnake Gravel Grind last March. And we actually did not go. Two things. One, my kid had a baby and we went down early for that. It just overlapped. Couldn't make it to Rattlesnake. And then I tore my knee skiing.
Oh, no.
So that's the previous episode here. People can go back and hear my crybaby about my knee.
Yeah.
But so I'm glad we didn't sign up. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think I was having surgery like the day after Rattlesnake. But anyway, Aria did Rattlesnake this year. Granted, it was hot, but I mean, geez, it's hot every time we do it. It's also windy every time we do it.
Yeah. That's why I love all the windmills out in that area.
That's exactly why there's windmills out there, because it's always windy.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the 50 miler. He's in great shape. And he did not wear a hydration pack.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I'm going with this whole thing. I'm telling you, man, he stopped 17 times, refilled with water. He kept showing himself like refilling his bottle, dumping water on his head. I mean, it was hot, but been there, done that. It's been hot every time we do it. And then, boy, man, like he was struggling just to get home.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my wife, Dee, who sits on the back of the tandem and provides most of the power for that thing, I was like, Dee, I think we've done Rattlesnake 3 times. We always do the 70 miler because I want to finish that same day. I think the long one's 103. I think we've been passed by the winners once of the hundo. But I think out of the times we've done Rattlesnake, I think we stopped once. And I was underfed. Like I needed a freaking Snickers bar, and water. But other than that, we haven't stopped. We didn't stop. We never stopped on the 70 miler. We had our orange mud hydration packs that I believe we bought at Gravel Worlds. And I just think that made all the difference. And I think one of the things, as I was kind of watching that and thinking about the difference between Aria's experience and our experiences, and having that pack on, I don't know why he didn't wear a pack, but I do know packs can be super uncomfortable, super hot, annoying, and you don't want to wear them.
Sure.
Our orange muds, we don't know are there. And I know this is a commercial for orange mud, but I feel like your design of the packs, it's not just a backpack with a bladder in it. So talk to me about what goes into gear engineering for long distance cyclists, hard, like you mountain bike, you do everything, especially on dirt. The word mud is in the name of your company, and clay is in the name of your other company. So I know you get dirt for sure. Especially that makes me want to wear it. Makes me think like I'm cool putting this thing on, whether it's for a 100-mile day on Ragbri, whether it's for a 200-mile road ride on the Break the Cycle ride, whether it's on the 100-mile Leadville, whether it's on 200-mile Unbound, but makes you want to put it on and want to wear it as opposed to hate wearing it. Like, tell me what goes into that, and how do you engineer gear for cyclists?
Sure. Well, so when I started Orange Mud, I started with the focus on bottle-based hydration packs. That was the whole initial focal point, and it was something that as the time went on, I realized, hey, I can do really cool stuff for bladders, and so I started making that transition from a more run-focused packs, which I put an incredible amount of blood, sweat, and tears into figuring out. Which is way more problematic. Like, it's really hard to design packs for runners. Way easier for cyclists. But once we got the footprint and the understanding of how do these go together and how do we make sure that they're stable, that's where everything changes. And to give credit to Camelback, which I won't do too often, but like I raced with the Camelback Mule for years. I've been racing mountain bikes for 24 years now, and when I started, racing, that's what I was using was a Camelback Mule. It was long, it flopped around your back. you hit a corner and you'd feel that you feel it lagging behind you and chasing, right? And flying in the wind. It was like a wing sometimes. And then, you know, I bought all kinds of other brands over the years. And so when I designed our first bladder pack, which was our endurance pack, and I worked on it for about a year and a half, and then I gave up because I wasn't going to make anything that I didn't believe was better than everything else on the market. Otherwise, like, what am I doing? And so I had set this one pack as my baseline in the running space, and I was like, I'm not going to make anything unless I beat that one. And then I gave up after a while because I couldn't make it better. I just couldn't stabilize the fluid like I wanted, just like all the other brands struggled with. And so probably 6 months or a year almost went by, and then one day I thought about, I think I got an idea to be able to do this. So with our bottle-based hydration packs, everything is started and ended with a thought of you anchor it on the front of your shoulders, and then you wrap to the back. Up front doesn't matter very much because up front's where the problem is. As you breathe, your lungs expand and contract, right? Your body may shrink a little bit or expand a little bit throughout a race, so you have variability there. Ladies, you have chest to make the fit more compounding of problems. And so I wanted to get it to where it goes front of shoulders and wraps to the back. And that's through dumb luck, to be honest. I figured that out through the design that I initially wanted to work with because I didn't want something to block breathing. That's why I initially didn't even use a chest strap on my HydroQuiver model, my bottle-based hydration packs. But then as I carried it into the bladder configuration, I did the same premise. I put chest straps there to stabilize the front pockets, which are phone and fuel storage areas, because you have to have something for that. But that was the initial shape that the configuration that helped to make it to where it worked great for runners, but it also still made a difference for cyclists. So when you're hitting a corner really hard, that backpack doesn't move and it's rock solid. So that was really the foundation: is anchor to front of shoulders, wrap to back. Don't worry about the front. Only focus on less constriction in the front, just enough to be able to hold a phone and some bag of bacon or whatever it is you want to take with you in the chest pockets. And then from there, it came down to make it short. When I built our endurance pack, which I launched at Dirty Kansas. Originally, it was Dirty Kansas back in the day. When I launched it, what I did is I put down a piece of paper and I put a HydroPack 2-liter bladder and I traced around it, and that was my pattern to start the pack. I didn't want to waste any space on the pack because I wanted to get the fabrics as minimal as possible on your back so you don't have much heat. And then leaving foam out. So some packs still put, a lot of mountain bike specific packs still put foam in the back of them because it helps them look good on the retail shelf. But that's usually about the only real benefit of that foam. But that foam will trap heat. It may not transfer the cold from your bladder to your back, but it sure will trap the heat and trap the moisture on your body. So it's going to be a lot hotter on your body. So that's something I've never put in my packs. At least not in a 100% exposure area. Sometimes we'll use it to kick out and create an air channel, but even so, it will have gaps in between that. But I'd say those three pieces are at the top end of that, and then of course the final is make sure we have access to everything you want while you're riding, and your phone, nutrition. Most everybody, like it or not. I tell people all the time I'm basically an electronics designer. I have to design backpacks around electronics because everybody wants them, whether it's GoPros or your phone. And then from there you want food and water. And sadly, it's often probably those first and then food and water after. But yeah, that's the core basics of how I start and finish every design.
I want to add to, besides cornering, like standing up, especially mountain biking, like you've got a steep little incline. You've got to stand up for, 3 strong strokes to get over a lip or get over a log, and it's not flopping back and forth when you hop over a log. Honestly, like everything, Schwammigan is like all kinds of all over the place movement, right? And the thing is just, I don't know what's there. It's awesome. I love it, and I feel like it is not just a backpack with a bladder in it.
Right. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, it really comes down to stability with backpacks. The market is getting better. I will say that when we started this, the market sucked. I mean, there was a lot of junk, and people are, I think a lot of these brands are realizing, like, hey, we need to tighten this up. And even when I started selling them at Dirty Kansas, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever it was, back then there was like people wearing old Camelbacks or bottles. And like you led the conversation, a buddy of mine, when he came up to do the 200, I asked him, I said, are you wearing a pack or what? He's like, nah, I don't wear packs. I only use bottles. And I'm like, you realize it gets really hot out there. I know it's Kansas and I know you're from Florida, but there's a different level of heat that happens about mile 100 to 160 in this race. And it catches everybody off guard. There's a reason why it's like a freaking death zone usually between that area. And sure enough, he was like, no, I don't need that. I do this type of stuff all the time. And then he DNF'd. And then after that, I'm pretty sure he switched back to packs the next year.
Huh.
But it's something that, bottles are tricky with gravel and again, bottle cage technology has gotten better, but there's still tons of these. You go to these races, you see water bottles all over the place. Spend $20 on a good cage, and that won't happen. Or just wear a backpack and not have to carry bottles in general, or take one bottle to cool yourself down. And I'll do that when it's really hot. Say if like it unbounds. It is. I know that 100 to 160 is going to be a death zone, and I'll take a bottle and just put a little squirt in my neck, and that feels great to bring your temperature down. But otherwise, man, I run a bladder and I'm freaking solid. Don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Schwamigan, we bring a bottle just to spray on the drivetrain when it gets full of sand. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's saved our ride many a times.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. I want to kind of get into you as a rider. You've got some great stories, but Seven Clay. Tell me about Seven Clay. What is that, and what's your relation to the cycling world there?
Sure. Yeah. So on the Seven Clay side, I started it in 2019, 2 months after we moved our business to Texas, because I hated all the local shops. Their quality sucked, their service was terrible, and their prices were crazy. And one of the pieces that I've always had with Orange Mud is that it should be number one quality, number two quality, number three quality, and then designs, and customer service. But I've always cared about quality being number one. And it was the one knock. I had a Fleet Feet store, which we're in hundreds of Fleet Feet stores. And a Fleet Feet store owner one day, they're like, Josh, have you ever thought about your embroidery quality? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I felt it was pretty good. I mean, I maybe didn't like some of my suppliers because I wanted them to trim threads more, but I thought like overall the quality was decent, but I wasn't an embroidery expert. And so I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, I have an embroidery shop and I think your quality could be improved. You need to improve your stitch density. And I was like, okay. And I brought it up to my factory. I used 2 different ones for my embroidery, and they're like, no, Josh, you don't understand. And I was like, well, what don't I? Why? I mean, why can't you tighten that up? Can't you just make the program a little more dense or whatever it's called? And they're like, no, you don't understand. And I just chalked it up to, maybe that lady was wrong. Maybe they were right. I don't know. I mean, you would think these people are experts. Well, so when we moved here, the quality got even worse, and to a level I wouldn't accept it. And so I came home one night. I told my wife, I said, hey, I just spent $58,000. I'm going to put some people out of business. I literally started Seven Clay with the whole purpose of hurting local businesses, my local embroidery businesses that were a competition, because I was trying to outsource $250,000 a year of business. It's not like I was pennies. And if you came to me and you're like, hey, Josh, I need to find somebody that'll clean toilets for me for $250,000 a year. And I'm like, okay, I would literally start a business for you if you told me that. And here I'm trying to give away $250,000 of business to established shops, and they wouldn't hardly call me back. So again, that's why we started Seven Clay is to hurt them. And we have hurt plenty of local ones, which I could care less about because I didn't need another business. It just made me work even more than I already do, which is crazy. But so as we built it, we really started it with our own brand in mind, but it quickly, because of my friendships and relationships with the gravel cycling scene, people were like, well, hey, can you make my patches? And like our first big patch order was for used to be Land Run Mid-South. Bobby was like, hey, can you make me 3,000 patches like in like 7 days? And I'm like, yeah, probably. I mean, maybe. I don't really know. I don't really know how to do that, but we're going to figure it out. And we did. And I worked first, second, and third shift and then drove up there and did the race and brought them. But that was really one of the starting points of our patch empire, which now we are one of the largest, patch manufacturing companies in the U.S. in both leather and woven and embroidery and PVC and sub and DTF and all these. And we make, many gravel races you go to, you'll be buying hats that we made, and for some of the biggest brands in the business, such as Unbound and many others. So we've been very fortunate to grow in the space and continue growing there. And then from there, it's, we don't just work in the cycling space, we work in the running space and making custom tech apparel and cycling, dragon boat, and then of course every other contractor on the planet. So yeah, we're in all sorts of crazy facets, because we do custom caps, we do custom tees, and I have a full custom cut and sew in Costa Rica that does everything 100% made from scratch. And then I've got facilities in Bangladesh and China and whatnot. And I try not to use China too much, but I do have them on certain things. You just have to go to China for. But yeah, so we have all sorts of things outside of our own wheelhouse. But yeah, next time you're in town, you got to come by our shop. We have a very much how it's made type of shop. And you go in there, you'll see different types of laser machines. We've got tons of embroidery machines. We've got screen printing, all kinds of heat presses and sublimation. We even have a press for, I think it was, I forget which event. I think it was maybe a Leadville event 2 years ago. The buyer was like, hey, can you do debossing as opposed to laser etching on our leather patches? I was like, yeah, sure. It's not a problem. And meanwhile, I hung up the phone. I called my production manager. I'm like, hey, you have any idea where I can get a debossing machine? I don't exactly know how we're going to do this.
But I said yes.
Yeah, and they're like, how many of them? I'm like, it's there's I think it was 2,000 caps. And I was like, yeah, it's 2,000. And he's like, you're an idiot. He's like, you took that order? I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be fine.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, and I had to buy 3 machines. I had to buy 2 machines that were wrong before I got the 3rd machine that was right. And then we made them, and they were awesome. And so we even had debossing. So yeah, if you ever want to come in and see how things are made, we have pretty much all the equipment you can find. Most people in the custom apparel side, they don't do that. They're a specialist in screen printing, or they're a specialist in embroidery, but on our side, it's not like that. We do literally everything. And of course, because of Orange Mud, I already had a ton of sewing machines. So I've got leather sewing machines just dedicated to sewing leather patch hats. Or if I need to make some really heavy duty, something for, bow hunting, I just build something, out of leather, or bow fishing, whatever it is. I'm always building something, for my redneck, adventurous side, and with all my sewing machines, it's awesome. So yeah, we have a lot of fun equipment.
That's kind of funny. You're using the words redneck and sewing machines in the same thing, and those don't seem congruent. But hey, whatever works. If you can sew your bow fishing stuff and go hunt some carp, rock on, brother.
Well, and it's so like just sitting outside my door right here, I built a belt last year out of nylon and leather to hold my bow when I'm bow fishing, so I don't have to just hold it the whole time. Because we're going after gator gar in 2 weeks, and there it's like I'll stand stationary for hour, 2 hours at a time without moving, and you're waiting for one opportunity, and that's it. And it could be, you can do that all day, but I mean a lot of times they'll roll in 60 minutes to 2 hours, and so you're waiting and waiting and waiting. So I built via rivets, multiple sewing machines between leather and nylon, this custom bow fishing belt that's got a multi-tool and a bow holder and bottle and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I've even made custom knives and built leather sheaths. And again, I don't have to redneck it. I can redneck sew it. It's a slightly improved version of the redneck version. So yeah, I like to make things, but my country roots never go too far away from what I'm doing.
It's kind of funny. That's awesome. I love that story. What was I going to ask? I don't know, but I do know. I mean, people have probably surmised this, that like this was born out of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention, and you don't know what is needed unless you are doing. And you are a great big doer. You've done everything: adventure racing, mountain biking, and ultra running. Give me some cycling stories.
Sure. Well, I tell you, one of the coolest is like we were talking about before the call. I love bike packing. I just think it's one of the greatest events or whatever experiences you can have, because it's different than racing is great, but there's a lot of anxiety that goes into racing, and all to have that big. It's almost like Christmas, right? You're excited for Christmas, and then Christmas happens, and it's just over. But with bike packing, it's very different, because you spend a lot more time thinking about your gear and how you're going to get there, because you're unsupported, and then once you take off and go through this experience, you're learning the whole time, and your brain is engaged. You're looking around and you're watching the birds, and you're looking for critters, and like I was doing this Cannonball 550 for the first time, and I was in a mud section dragging my bike for, I don't know, 10 miles, I think.
Oh.
And at one point I was going through the mud, and I was very humbled. I would have quit, or I considered it at least, but there was nowhere to quit. You just had to still get there.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, and so I'm probably halfway into this mud pit and dragging my bike down the road, and this little painted turtle was stuck in the mud. It was like an inch in diameter. And as I'm walking along, I'm like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Because here I've already been pedaling for 2 days or something at this point. And I'm holding this little painted turtle, and he's just the coolest little guy. And I'm like, man, this is great. But you'd never do that in a race, right?
No,
but in a bike packing, granted, it was kind of a bike packing race in a way, but there's no cost. It's a great event. And so I kind of hung out with the turtle for a little bit, took some pictures, talked to it, and told it a story, and then probably let it go in the weeds, and then it kept going. But that's, I think, one of the greatest parts of these events. Well, in that race, it was actually the second time I did it. I was about 300 and some odd miles in, and it was really hot that year, and my knee was acting up. And now, mind you, I've done over 500 endurance races, and I've only quit 3 of them, and over the years. And I always finish what I start, unless there's physically or mechanical failures. And my knee was acting up, and at this point, I'd done so much that I'm like, do I really need to be doing this? I just did this race 2 years ago. Do I really need to? Wouldn't it be more fun to go hang out with my dad, which is like 40 minutes away from where I was? And this is out west of Alma, Kansas, and the big old freaking hills out there. And so I'm riding along, and my knee keeps acting up, and I'm going up these hills, and it's locking up. Never had this happen before, and I was like, oh God, this really hurt. And about 45 minutes prior to this happening, there was this old church on the side of the road, and I pulled over, and there was an old hand pump, and I got some water in my bladder from there, and I sat on this little meadow kind of looking out, or this grassy area they'd mowed at this old church, and I just looked out there, and I just kind of said to anybody listening, I guess, and I was like, what's going to happen in this race? I'm not feeling so great. My knee's kind of bugging me, and so anyway, 45 minutes later, I'm riding up this hill, and I run into this knee just locking up, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm not going to finish. I think this is going to be one of the only time I've ever done a race where, everything else is really pretty good, but I think I'm going to quit. I kind of felt a little bit weird about doing it, but I thought, you know what, this is going to be fun. I'm just going to hang out with my dad. So I hit my Bluetooth and said, hey, call Ron Sprague. And nothing happened. And I hit it again, and I pulled my phone out of my pocket, and I looked at it, and in a giant display on my screen on the iPhone, it said, your iPhone has been disabled. But in real big text. Never seen that ever in my life on an iPhone. And I thought, what the heck? What is that? That doesn't make any sense. Well, so I'm sitting there staring at this, trying to figure out what the heck's going on. I just chalked it up to whatever. Maybe it overheated or something. And so I keep going up the hill, and it's maybe an hour before sunset, so it's beautiful light. And I'm just walking up this hill, enjoying myself. And I tried again once I got to the top. And there was a cell phone tower. I could see it. And I thought, well, surely it's going to work soon. And it didn't. And then I was on a flat. And I thought, well, I guess I'll ride a little ways. So then I rode maybe 2 or 3 miles. And then I tried it again. I rebooted my phone. Nothing happened. And then next thing you know, like 20 miles later, I just kind of forgot about it. My knee started working again, and I just kept riding. Well, it's like 1 a.m. And I told my dad I'd be to Alma about probably 6 or 7 p.m. But I was running way behind due to that, my knee acting up and walking so much. But I'm riding down the road, and all of a sudden I see lights coming towards me. And it's 1 a.m, which I knew is either a drunk high schooler, which, I've been one of them kids out there, West Alma, because I went there for high school, or it was my dad. And my dad's very not tech savvy, and so the odds of him actually tracking my spot tracker were not very good. But he apparently figured it out, which was pretty amazing. And he pulls up there on the side of the road. He's like, "Hey, thought you were going to be in Alma about 6 or 7. I'm like, "Yeah, well, I had some knee problems. And this stupid phone quit working." I pulled it out of my pocket. It's totally fine. It didn't have that message anymore. Didn't have anything. And at this point, I got through all my challenges. And I thought, well, I guess I'm just going to keep going. And I told him the story. And he's like, "Well, you want to go back?" I'm like, "No, I think I'm going to keep going." And when I look back at the whole scenario, it was kind of wild because, again, I'm sitting at a church and I'm literally asking off to God or whoever's listening, like, what's going to happen here? I don't understand what's going on today, with my body. And here, even when I wanted to quit, I couldn't because my technology wouldn't work. And, 7 hours later, everything was fine. And I ended up finishing the race, a day and a half or two later or whatever it was. So I think that's, to me, one of the coolest things when you're doing these big events is that sometimes things that you cannot explain happen. Because what the display that I saw on there, I wish I would have screenshotted it, but obviously
you probably couldn't have.
But
it didn't work.
Yeah, and I didn't carry a camera. But it was something that I've never seen before ever, and I've done a lot of very remote things. It wasn't like it was a no cell phone service thing. The message was completely across the screen. And I mean, call it what you want, but to me, it was like divine intervention on that one. It's like, yeah, you're not quitting today. You're going to keep going. So yeah, that was a pretty cool one. And then I tell you the other coolest one, and I won't go into the whole long details, but I did Trans South Dakota. It was a 720-mile bike race, and it was the very final day. I think it was day 5, and my dead dog lady, she'd been dead for years, and she appeared out of nowhere. About same thing. It's probably about 5 o'clock in the evening, 6, and an hour or 2, 3 before dark, and she rode next to me, off about 10 to 15 degrees to the right, about 10, 15 feet in front of me, for like 2 hours. And if I looked at her, she disappeared. But if I looked straight ahead, she was clear as day. Looking back, big old tongue hanging out. It was so cool. But it was my golden retriever that had died years earlier. But yeah, she did a good bit of riding with me that day. And that was something that, like, I was crying going down the road. It was kind of embarrassing, but it was awesome. It was awesome crying. I'm like, why is my dog here? This is incredible. And sure, you're chemically messed up when you're doing these things, but I don't feel that I was in some weird state of like barely alertness. That wasn't it at all. I mean, I can't explain what happened there, but I know what I saw was, as real as you can get. And it was one of the coolest experiences ever. But I only get them type of things in the big events. You've got to go very sleep deprived probably and push your body chemically into a state where, I don't know, maybe you reach a different plane. I can't explain it, but it was, 2 really, really incredible experiences in bike packing.
Yeah, that's super cool and interesting. Like, my mind's going a bunch of different places. One of the things I want to reiterate, like your phone not letting you drop out of the race.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I went up to the Arrowhead 135, and I did a film on it. If you dig around on the YouTubes, you can find a film called 60 Hours. It's kind of a good thing. It's not cycling emphasis. It's more on the run. But nonetheless, this guy says, don't quit at night.
Yeah.
Get through the night, and then if you still want to quit, then quit. When the sun comes up, get through the night. And so your phone was like, dude, don't quit. Yeah. Like, you don't quit at night. Like, just get through the sun until the sunrise, and then you'll be good. And it didn't even take you that long, but you just had to Had to
persevere.
Just had to persevere and keep moving and get moving, and then your body finds a way. That's very, very cool.
It was awesome. It really was.
And you don't. I've always said, like, you can't cheat a marathon. Like, you can cheat a 5K, you can cheat a 10K. You might be sore the next day. You could even kind of cheat a half marathon. My son did a freaking half marathon a couple of years ago. He ran cross country, but then didn't run through college and just ended up doing a half marathon with his brother. He was young enough. He could cheat it, right?
Yeah.
He was definitely sore the next day. But a marathon, you can't cheat.
Sure.
And, like, it's because it's so long, you're going to go through things that you would not go through in a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon. Like, it's just going to cause you to, and then, exponentially more when it's 5 days long or whatever, 550 miles or I mean, even 50 miles of hard at Sweetwater, or 200 miles of hot and humid and rain at Unbound. Like, you just go through, you have experiences that you cannot replicate. You cannot cheat. You're not going to get the same kind of experience by going for a 35-mile afternoon ride on flat paved trails.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like that endurance thing, that going further than you ever thought you could, takes you places you never imagined you could go or would go. Yeah, a ride with your dog.
Of confidence too, right? I mean, I think that, I mean, like marathons, for example. I remember when I signed up for my first marathon, I think it was the 2001 Rock and Roll Marathon in Phoenix. And my girlfriend and I at the time, we spent a lot of time training for it. And it was, it was fun and it was exciting, but I was really nervous to go run a marathon. And then, after you did it, I'm like, that hurt. And marathons do. They
do hurt.
It's that pavement, man. It's just brutal. But that's why I like dirt so much. But then you do a 50K and you're like, yeah, the marathon's not so bad. And then you do a 50 mile and you're like, 50Ks and marathons really aren't that bad. And then you do a 100 mile and you're like, shit, everything else is better than this. 100 miles really hard. But once you have that frame of reference, then you're not afraid to do anything. It's like being a kid, right? Like when I talked my son I didn't talk him into it, but when I asked him if he wanted to do this 12-hour adventure race with me back in February, a week before the race, because I had signed up solo, I was like, man, the weather's looking good. I didn't want to put him out there if it was going to be really cold and like hypothermia risk, but the weather was looking great. And I was like, what do you say? You want to do it? And he's like, yeah, sure. He's 14. He doesn't know anything. That's the perfect part. And with us parents or as older adults, we hit a point where we worry too much about the what ifs. We're kids, they don't know anything. And that's what I like about doing these bigger and bigger and bigger events. You keep resetting your fear points. And it's basically, it's kind of like getting to be a kid again, because you're not afraid of anything. Like, I'm not afraid. You can tell me, hey, you want to go ride 300 miles tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, well, I probably rode about that much this year, but yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it's because I know I've done it before. It's not that hard. You put in food and nutrition in your body, or the proper nutrition in your body, you can do it. I mean, maybe hurt a little bit more, but it's about the adventure. And that's what I care about. I don't care about, the winning races is far in my history at this point. I don't want to be last, but I'm out there for the experience more than anything. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about doing these, is that you constantly reset, what it is you need to be afraid of, and then what your goals, even are of the experience.
Yeah. I think we talked pre-recording a bit about feeling the need to race / pin a number on. And I struggle with it. I feel like I should have a whole episode on getting older and feeling the desire or the need to pin a number on / the guilt of not pinning a number on. Like when there's a local race and I don't do it, that's actually hard. But it's like, why am I here? I'm here to have fun. I'm freaking 60 years old now. I don't have to, I got nothing to prove to anybody, right? I
Right.
just want to enjoy my time. And the thing about pinning a number on is um, it does cause you to get out. You
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have ridden your bike 550 miles if you had not signed up for this Cannonball 500, right?
Absolutely not.
So
Yeah.
there's
Terrible idea.
there it would be a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So there's kind of an interesting dynamic between pinning a number on, not pinning a number on, and just loading
Yeah.
your bike and going bike packing and getting lost out on endless gravel roads, which is awesome too. But they all
Yeah.
fit together, and it's all about having fun on a bike or your feet
Yeah.
or whatever.
No, for sure. I think that racing is fantastic, and especially if you're new to the sport, you see the excitement of people new to the sport. They come in, they're like, "Man, this is awesome! I've only raced a 50. I'm like, oh, I'm terrified of 100, or I'm terrified of the 200. I'm terrified of something." And yeah, that's great. I mean, fear is what has motivated me to do so many things over the years. And it's why, like at Unbound, it's why I did the XL a few years back, because I just thought, well, I've already done them all the other ones, so might as well do it. And I don't want to do that again. I'd rather do bike packing. That is a race. You race against the clock in that case, but with bike packing, there's no limit. If it takes you a month or 5 days or 2 days, whatever, it's fine. But it's something that for me, I know how to persevere, and as a result of so much racing, and so I can go out and go do just a 200-mile route by my house and just enjoy it and live off gas station food or pack my stuff, and I have the confidence to do it because I've done it before, and I have the confidence because I understand how to fix most things that can go wrong on my bike. But sometimes it takes racing to get the confidence with that, because you're going to push yourself, like you said, to do these distances you wouldn't do otherwise. But then now, yeah, as you get older and you've already done I run into many people that are in my same shoes, where we've all done so much that you hit a point where, like, well, why would I love a lot of these races in Kansas, for example, where I grew up. I'd love to go back and do a lot of the 50 and 100-mile races and whatnot to support them, but it's a 10-hour drive for me to go up there. And is that a logical thing for me to do it? Like, forget the expense of the race. I don't have a problem with that. A lot of them are still super affordable, and if I live there, I do it. But I feel terrible that I'm not supporting some of these guys. But I do hope they understand that. I think they do, that it's a long ways for me to drive to do 100 miles, and when I could go back there and see my dad and hang out and go ride 100 miles, or as far as I want. And so
Right.
That's where, to me, I would rather go explore, and then I take that pressure off. Strava as is the dang devil. You feel like you can't stop and go look at a lizard that ran across the trail because you didn't know what color or kind it was, because it's going to impact your Strava segment. And I really try anymore to not focus on that, and just to say, I'm going to record it, because I do like to record it. I'm kind of a nerd like that. But if I'm out and I need to pause for half an hour to look for fossils in a cool spot, I will. Or to go, look for some weird animal I just saw run across that I didn't know what it was. Let's go check that thing out. But I think that's the cool part about exploration. And I feel like with racing, sometimes people lose sight of that, and they feel like all they have to do is train, and then you're either going to get it to a point where you're burnt out, or you're missing out on the whole purpose, which is relaxation and enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you led with gear engineering for cyclists, but we might conclude with finding the joy, refinding the joy in going out for a freaking bike ride.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Whatever that means. Yep.
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I mentioned my knee earlier. I'm finding joy in a 3-mile bike ride these days as part of my rehab. But honestly, it's not a 100-mile ride, but it's such a treat to get outside and feel the wind and hear the birds and the creek and all that stuff, just of getting outside. So yeah, finding the joy in riding a bike.
Go out and get you an adventure bike.
It
opens a whole other level.
I'm sure it would, but right now it would I could not hold the thing up.
Yeah.
I think about that, and I'm like, no, I'm not even there yet. But yeah, I'll get there. But yeah, I think that'd be super fun. We ran into some friends on last Friday, and they both ride bikes, motorcycles, as well as bikes, but they were on motorcycles. And I'm like, D, I think we got to get motorcycles. She's like, we can get one. I'm not driving the thing. I'm like, fair enough. That's
there
all right.
you go.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, I bought that Yamaha TW 200 last year. It's not fast. It only goes max speed 65, but I only want dirt, and I had adventure bike people tell me, no, you're going to regret it. You need more power. I'm like, you don't understand. I don't want to be on pavement. I hate pavement. I do. I hate it with a passion. And I worry about getting killed. Down here in Texas, the average speed's about 75 on a paved road.
Right, for sure.
And so I don't even want to go that fast on the motorcycle anyway. So that thing, man, it is just the most fun thing. It's like riding a golden retriever. Is it fast? No, but is it just playful and fun? It is, man. I hop on that sucker and I like it because I can explore. And even in my cyclist brain, every time I see a hill, I'm like, it's gonna suck. It's some big long hill. I'm like, wait a minute, it's not gonna suck. I have a gas pedal. You just hit it. But I tell you what, it's like bike packing because you can go off and you really see more than you ever would. Gravel cycling, you still gotta, or your bike packing, whatever, you still have to suffer. There's still a good bit, and there's plenty of times you're head down, but on the adventure bike, it really has opened up a lot to me because now I can go do route exploration, and where I would like to go and do a 200-mile route, I may not have the time to go bang out a 20-hour self-supported ride in the bush, but I can go out on my motorcycle and I can do it in like, I don't know, 6 or I don't know, whatever it'd take, and I can scope out the route for my gravel cycling. So it can actually be a complement. So if anybody needs this, you can also leverage this to your spouse by saying, I need to get a motorcycle because I need to scout routes for safety purposes. And then I can go ride it on my bike and be sure that I'm safe and get home safely. So that's, there's some merit to this. It can increase your range and safety while riding.
Yes, I like that. I will also say, this is counterpoint, that I've had friends who buy a moto and it's like they never ride a bike again. I'm like,
I can see
dude,
that.
peace out, dude. It's been good knowing you, but you'll
it
always
is
be
tough.
welcome back to the bike.
Yeah. Well, like for my birthday every year in July, I always plan a big epic every year. I've always done this, and it could be mountain bike, could be gravel bike. This year I am on the fence, and I'm struggling. I'm already trying to figure out how I do all three because I would love to do like a 500-mile moto route. And I've been mapping it out. This big figure 8 from my ranch. Do I do 250 in this 8, half the 8, and 250 the next day east, and the other piece of the 8? But I also want to do like a 150-ish mile ride on my gravel bike. But I also been wanting to go down to this place out southwest of Austin that's epic for mountain biking. It's got like 30 to 50 miles of trails, and I want to go ride there. And last year I got flooded out, so I don't know how I'm going to do all three. But
you need 3 more birthdays.
I need 3 more reasons. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but you just got to do it all. Just got to figure it out.
One of the things that I find a common denominator between everybody who I've had on this podcast is they got to where they are because at one point they said yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I feel like you're going to find a way to say yes to all 3 of those.
Oh, that's a fact. Oh, it's happening.
Don't
get me wrong, it's happening this summer. Yeah,
for sure,
all of
for
them
sure.
are happening for sure. Yeah, my wife knows when I set my sights on something, it's happening. And she's like, "Are you asking for permission or are you telling me?" I'm like, "Well, I'm asking because that's the polite thing to do. But I mean, if you say no, I'm going to
still
keep
going.
asking until you say yes. So
Right.
it's probably better that we both just kind of agree to this."
Right.
So the way to yes is it's definitely an art form.
For sure, it is. How do people find Orange Mud?
Just you Google Orange Mud, you should find us. If I'm doing everything right, orangemud.com on the web, easy to find.
Perfect. And if we want our a sweet custom hat or anything else embroidered, where do we find that?
Yeah, same thing. Seven Clay, 7 SEVENCLAY. Look us up on Instagram, Facebook, or again the website, of course, and easy to find.
Is there a place to look, or do we know if we're wearing 7 clay anytime, or is that, are you hidden in the stitches here?
Yeah, a lot of times we're hidden in the stitches. Well, a lot of times we brand them complete for people, where we put on, their brand on the side of the hat,
sure.
plus their art on the front. So,
Okay.
But yeah, I'll give everybody a good hint that if you go to any gravel bike race or mountain bike race that is large, there's extremely high probability that you're probably wearing a cap that we've made. And
I love it.
And I have a lot of them at my shop that I keep for me. So, but yeah, and we welcome people in anytime. I tell people this all the time. Even if you're not a customer, if you just want to come see how it's made, or we invite competition in, come to our shop. I love to showcase it. It's fun, and it's just neat to see how things are made. And again, it's kind of fun because we've got Orange Mud and 7 Clay all in the same building, and so you can go in and see prototypes from all kinds of fun stuff, and it's never a dull moment. If I need some crazy weird anything, I just go make it, and it's the nice perk of having all that equipment.
Yeah, very cool. North side of Austin, right?
Yep, yeah, Round Rock, Texas. Yeah, if you're ever driving through Austin, you see Bass Pro Shops. We're about 5 minutes away from there, so it's pretty easy to find. Bass Pro or IKEA.
Round Rock.
Or the outlet malls in Round Rock, or the donut shop.
I was just thinking, I'm like, is that in Round Rock? Is the donut shop in Round Rock the Texas Donut? Yep. It's like the size of a freaking bicycle wheel.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Yeah, we went up there, had a beer, and then got a donut.
Yep.
It's a nice little brewery there, too.
Yeah.
So, love it.
It's a good thing.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thanks tons for coming on. Appreciate you reaching out, and it's great to connect again. Next time I'm in Austin, I'll look you up. I actually I think Dee and I have got to get a tour. We've got to keep driving north of Briggs, get up to the gravel, and see what your world is like up there.
Hey, you can come stay at my cabin. We got an Airbnb up there. It'd be on me. Come stay
awesome.
at my cabin at the ranch, and it'll blow your mind. The views from there are incredible. We have 56 acres up there, and pond, and 4 miles of trails, and it's just the coolest spot. So yeah, I go up there as much as I can, and I'd live up there if my wife would agree to it, but haven't talked her into it yet.
That's a bit of a hike down to Round Rock.
It's an hour from my house.
Yeah.
59 minutes to be exact. But I go up there pretty frequently.
Yeah, sounds like it. Well, why
or it's
wouldn't
110 miles actually on moto with my back route, but yeah, it's a quick route.
Yeah, I love it. Well, take care, Josh. Thanks again. I appreciate you coming on.
All right, likewise, man. Talk to you soon.
I just love talking to entrepreneurs who see a need and make the decision to fill that need. And it was a treat today to talk to Josh and get an inside peek at both Orange Mud and his other company, 7 Clay. If you want to dive further into either of these companies, check them out at orangemud.com or 7clay.com. Of course, I'll include links in the show notes. And you should also check him out on Instagram. He's got good stuff posted there as well. So speaking of social media accounts, I would like to invite you to check out my new YouTube channel. It's called Pedaling Dirt. I've got a couple of videos up. As you may know, I blew my knee out this winter. I'm currently still on the rehab train. I actually, this week, rode my bike 6 miles twice, 2 different days. And one of those rides, I found a kind of a 1/4 mile long slight incline, and I went up and down it 4 times. So building strength, still working on flexibility. Straight is great. Keep that knee going straight and I'm good. But turn and burn, no soccer games for me. Anyway, I'm still a long way from shredding sweet single track, which this Pedaling Dirt YouTube channel is all about. It's a travel channel for mountain biking. And I've got a couple videos up from footage I had in the can, but I have not yet been able to create new footage for new areas. So I'm getting closer and closer every week. So check out the 2 videos I have up. There's actually 3, a little intro one. Watch them. I mean, honestly, like queue them up and just play them. I've got to hit 1,000 subscribers and I think 1,000 hours, or maybe 4,000. I have to hit some number of hours of watch time, and then I'm going to monetize the thing. And then in 8 years, I'll be making my living traveling around the world, showing great mountain bike trails and where to find coffee, beer, water, restrooms, parking, hotels, access, all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot more than just sending the trails. It's what goes on around there. I'm actually kind of excited to go to Omaha. Dee and I went to Omaha a couple weeks ago to celebrate our anniversary, or something or other, anniversary. You all know I'm old. Anyway, there's some freaking great breweries there, so we're excited to go back, and there's a couple of trails in the Omaha neighborhood, so might have to check that out. Anyway, check out Pedaling Dirt. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers and 1,000 watch hours. I'd really appreciate it. So in the meantime, I appreciate you tuning in. I hope to see you out on the trails sometime soon. And as you know, nothing beats the simple pleasure of riding a bicycle.